On April 5th, the whole Cleary of 1986, the whole Cleary family fell victim to the medieval myth that college campuses that look safe are safe. And the policy of a lot of college campuses, if it's negative to their image, is what you don't know can't hurt you. What Jeannie didn't know, and her fellow students didn't know, and were never told by Lehigh University, that there have been 38 violent crimes on campus between 1984 and 1986.
Jean Ann Cleary, Jeannie to her friends, was a girl with the best years ahead of her. Intelligent and attractive, Jean was well-liked by everyone who met her. She was a graduate of the Agnes Irwin School, a prestigious private academy in Rosemont, Pennsylvania. She had compiled an impressive academic record during her time there and began to plan for the future. That meant college. She came from a solid family and enjoyed a very close relationship with her parents and two older brothers. She was an accomplished tennis player and had achieved a national ranking in the Middle States Tennis Association. She planned on continuing her career by competing at the college level at Lehigh University. In the spring of 1986, Jean Cleary returned for the second semester of her freshman year at Lehigh. Like most other first-year college students, this was her first experience living away from home in a new environment. She went to class, studied, and socialized with her friends, just like everybody else does while experiencing their college years. Jean Ann Cleary had a promising future indeed. But in the early morning hours of April the 5th, 1986, Joseph Henry, also a student at Lehigh, took all that away from her. Howard and Connie Cleary, Jean's parents, remember every detail of the afternoon they heard the tragic news of what had happened to their only daughter.
We got back at 2:30 in the afternoon. There was a police car in our driveway. And we didn't know what had happened, thought possibly the burglar alarm had gone off, although Catherine, who always stayed at our house, was there. And then we thought, as you're walking in, gee, maybe something happened to my mother, who was 84 at the time. And it wasn't that. And the policeman gave us the name of the coroner to call that Jeannie was dead.
Let me explain what happened, because it's something that I'm astounded with at this point. Our taxi drew up to the door. There were the two policemen with Catherine. Catherine, they were restraining her. And when I asked, was it Grandma? And they said no. I knew it was something so horrible. It would change our lives eternally. And so I said, please don't tell me until I sit down. And as I came down this long corridor, I said the Our Father out loud. And then I finished, and I sat down, and I said, okay. And they told me. Howard was paying the taxi driver. I knew I could never survive what they were going to tell me without God's help. And after I told Howard, everything is blank.
Jean Cleary lived in the Stoughton House in a dormitory complex known as the Lower Centennials. She lived on the third floor of the co-ed building and quickly became friends with the other residents. Jean was doing well at Lehigh. She appeared to be making the transition to college with few problems. Another student, who had never met Jean Cleary, was having a very different experience at Lehigh. His name was Joseph Henry.
His performance in the classroom was nothing more than a self-fulfilling prophecy of failure. He had no more chance to succeed at Lehigh than would most inner-city blacks with the kind of skills that he had obtained in high school and with the kind of measurable abilities that had been demonstrated up to that point. He was completely out of his league, unprepared to be where he was, and destined to fail.
Joseph Henry lived in a rented house with several other Lehigh students. It was located a few hundred yards off campus, about a 5-minute walk to Stoughton House, where Jean Cleary lived. On Friday evening, April 4th, 1986, Joseph Henry attended a party at the house of some friends.
At the party, he had a few drinks, nothing significant. He left the party, and there came a time when he was sitting around the kitchen table with his younger brother, who was visiting campus, and a few others of the members of his household, the private house. And this was just early morning hours, they were just talking. Joseph's younger brother went up to sleep somewhere. Joseph at one point got up, left the kitchen table, left the conversation, went out the back door. Said he was going to go up to steal some things.
And went back on campus to the Stoughton dormitory where Miss Cleary resided. He went upstairs to the 3rd floor where the girls are situated and entered room 301. In the process of stealing items from the room, Miss Cleary apparently was awakened, and at this time, Mr. Henry proceeded to beat, strangle, and rape Jean Cleary.
Dr. Isidore Mihalakis was the forensic pathologist who performed the autopsy on Jean Cleary. He detected a number of injuries that revealed the violent way Jean's life was taken from her.
The injuries found in Jeannie Cleary were several types. One was blunt force injuries in terms of bruising of the face, scalp, arms, and legs. The other were strangulation injuries manifested by hemorrhages in the neck. And the third were bite marks noted on the cheeks. The fourth were evidence of vaginal and anal penetration.
He bit her on both cheeks, bit through them, just bit through them. Bit her breasts. He tortured her. And then he strangled her to death. His bare hands strangled her to death. He couldn't have been more than just 6 inches from her face, because there was a girl sleeping just the other side of the wall to keep her silent. She fought. We found defensive wounds on her. He just strangled her. Mihalakis surmised that it took between 2 and 4 minutes for her to actually die, and during that period of time, he just couldn't have been more than 6 inches from her, just looking into that pretty face. There was just no reason for it. Absolutely no reason for it.
Henry entered the building easily, as 4 automatically locking doors had been propped open by the students who lived there. They thought of this as a convenience. So did Joseph Henry. The Criminal Investigation Unit of the Pennsylvania State Police took charge of the investigation. On Sunday afternoon, April 6th, 3 friends of Joseph Henry came forward with information that would lead to his arrest.
And at that point, we interviewed the 3 students from the university that Mr. Henry had spoken to. During that interview, they gave us specific information regarding some of the items that had been taken out of Ms. Cleary's room. Based on the information that we had received from these 3 individuals, we proceeded to a magistrate with affidavits. We requested and were given search warrants. We proceeded to Mr. Henry's residence where the search warrants were executed. At that time, these items taken from Ms. Cleary's room were recovered in his room. He was arrested and at that point taken into custody.
Joseph Henry was tried and convicted for the brutal killing of Jean Cleary. He was found guilty of murder in the first degree, rape, involuntary deviant sexual intercourse, aggravated assault, burglary, and other lesser charges related to his actions on April the 5th, 1986. He was sentenced to death by electrocution and currently sits on death row in the State Correctional Facility at Huntington, Pennsylvania. During the 2.5-week murder trial, Howard and Connie Cleary learned that there were a number of flaws in the security system at Lehigh. They would file suit against the university for negligence and eventually settle out of court.
Well, we can't tell you too much about the lawsuit because Lehigh University settled with us. And the only thing that we can make public is that they agreed to enhance security on campus, particularly in the freshman dormitories where they put the electronic card entrance system in. And this records everybody that goes into the dormitory. Also, there are automatic alarms that if the dormitory door is left ajar or propped after 30 seconds, an alarm goes down to the campus police as well as a loud signal so that that door will be shut.
The Cleary home, located in the Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania area, is filled with memories of Jean. They've had a memorial courtyard constructed. A statue of the sacrificed lamb sits on top of a symbolic fountain and serves as the centerpiece.
And the lamb was done by a priest sculptor, and it is not a sacrificial lamb, it is a sacrificed lamb. And his inspiration came from his boyhood days in Italy, where he would see these slaughtered lambs in the meat stores. And that's what he thought of when he thought of Jean. She was a slaughtered individual, and she was.
The Clearys have saved many of Jean's possessions and keep them in her room in the family home.
And a lot of people say, gee, why do you still have that? And but the point is, you're going to throw.
That's all we have.
Yeah, what are you going to do? Throw it all away?
That's all we have left.
And have an antiseptic room made into an office or something like that. And that's kind of far worse. And so it's
hard, but it's beautiful.
Yeah.
A meditation pavilion has been erected by the university and stands just outside the door used by Jean to get to her room. The same door Joseph Henry found propped open and used to get inside. The Cleary family decided on a different tribute. They formed Security on Campus Incorporated, an organization that works to improve security conditions at colleges and universities across the nation.
The seed was planted almost immediately after Jeannie's death. I can remember the week after wanting to do something to spare others of this horrible happening that seemed so incredible to me. And I figured if it could happen to me and to Jean, then it must be happening elsewhere on campuses.
The Security on Campus staff is comprised mostly of friends of the Cleary family. Some are employees, others are volunteers, but all work towards the goal of safer campuses.
Also, we have lots of victims call the office, and they're looking for some help, some assistance, because most often they're told they're the only ones this has happened to, and they have found that there has been nowhere else to turn, and somewhere, somehow, our name will pop up, and they'll call and see if we can assist them, and we try to.
The main goal of Security on Campus is to make people aware that colleges and universities are not immune to crime and violence. One way of doing this is through the passing of laws requiring these institutions to make crime statistics available to the public.
The result is two-pronged from the legislation, and that is that the students, faculty, and employees on the campuses will be informed so that they know about the crimes around them, and then they can take the precautions. You see, it's a two-way street. It will not be an effective law unless the campus families try to protect themselves. And there's no way they will do that unless they realize that the dangers surround them on the campuses. And then the other avenue is that the administrations then assume their responsibilities and put the policies and the techniques to secure their campuses into action.
I think that if this legislation were passed and became law, and if the college campuses knew that they had an obligation to provide this information upon request, I think that the security on the college campuses would be greatly improved. I think that they would be more consciously aware of where they might be cited for being inadequate, which the bill provides that they can be. And I think that they would do everything within their power to improve overall campus security, which is a major problem.
As a result of the efforts of the Clearys and security on campus, the state of Pennsylvania became the first state to adopt crime awareness and campus security legislation in May of 1988. 5 additional states have passed laws similar to the Pennsylvania legislation. 10 others have introduced bills related to crime awareness. And 11 states have begun to construct bills which would make campus crime information available to the public.
So we have over half the country in 1 year that has really begun to become aware enough to fight for legislation.
I think the biggest thing that I've seen is the awareness that has happened through this whole thing. It's absolutely amazing to me that you would get this kind of response from every state in the union. I mean, asking for information. Everyone's concerned about their child. You raise a child to age 19 and then send them off to school and not knowing whether you're ever going to see them again. I don't think anyone ever thought about that before.
While continuing to lobby for legislation at the state levels, security on campus has begun to focus their efforts in another direction. In September of 1989, bills were introduced in the Senate by Senator Arlen Specter and in the House of Representatives by Congressman Bill Goodling, both of Pennsylvania.
And basically the bill says that if you're receiving any federal funds, it is your responsibility to report all crime statistics to the FBI, anything that happens on the campus to the FBI, and you are also responsible to make sure that all present students, employees, and parents of those students know exactly what those crime statistics are. It also says that you must have a plan, a program to deal with the crime situation on campus, and you must publish that also. So basically it's a consumer's right to know bill is basically what it is. And with those statistics, we hope to bring to the attention of the students and the parents that these things are happening and that it isn't something that you read about, it's happening every day on campuses, and 80 to 85% are student against student.
The Clearys would travel to Washington, D.C. to testify before a congressional subcommittee hearing about the crime awareness bills. They, along with other victims, would tell the committee that information laws like these might help prevent others from becoming the victims of campus crime.
And I didn't realize until after I was victimized by this crime what lurks in the shadows. And there are a lot of students out there just like me. You know, they're so excited to go to college, and when they get there, they're carefree and they run around and they don't realize what can happen to them. And I think that this bill is most important because people are going to say, oh my God, federal legislation has been passed on the subject of security on campus. This has got to be a big issue. You know, maybe we should start thinking about this. And when they're looking through those pamphlets and they say, oh my God, look at these crime statistics, they're going to think twice, and they're going to factor that into how they consider a school, and at least they'll be aware of it.
These bills would make it law for all colleges and universities across the nation to make sure people are well informed about security conditions on campus.
If you don't know the relative safety of a college, of a university, that you're sending your kid off to for the first time, then you don't know enough about it.
But I think a parent now, because of what the Clearys have done, can make an intelligent decision, can sit down with a child and say, look, these are some of the problems. You've got to protect yourself. And that's the important part of this.
Jeannie Cleary died because no one ever pointed out to her or the Clarys, or anyone else in those days, that a college, whether it's Lehigh or anyplace else, can be a remarkably unsafe place. And you can't just trust everyone. This was a fellow student. It wasn't some bum that wandered off the street. It wasn't some guy just out of jail. It was a fellow student. She died because she didn't take the simplest precautions, because she was lulled in, and her parents were lulled into a sense of security that this particular college, or maybe any college, they're going to be safe. You entrust your child to that college, and they're going to be safe. They're going to get a good education. They're going to come out. Had the Clarys known, had Jeannie known the possibility or the statistics there of serious crimes, it may have still happened. I don't know. Nobody knows. But at least she would have been equipped to make the decision, boy, I really should lock my door.
We would love to know that the young people would be safe and having a good time during these independent years of theirs, in memory of our daughter.
Features a 6-story illuminated tower, which is the highest point on campus.